Hello and welcome. So a couple of weeks ago I got a great email which outlined a difficulty that a lot of people face, and this was basically the email, and I'll read it to you now. I've been shooting for about 4.5 years and I've been taking it seriously for about a year. I shoot about 400 hours a week and I've started to do regular bow exercises and training and stuff like that. So I've had advice from lots of different coaches, looked at lots of videos, attended a course, studied books, and now I can't work out how to shoot. So many ideas are often contradictory, and there are lots of different thoughts about what I should be doing in order to shoot. And I find that just as I'm getting somewhere with my form, I'll change something hoping to improve, and then this sets me back. Do you have any thoughts on how to find a way to deal with all this confusion, with all these ideas and conflicting ideas, basically? So this is a really great question, and don't worry, I've replied to the email already, but I wanted to provide some more information on this, to go into a bit more depth, and then also to share this information with more people as well, because I think it's really useful. So the first thing here is to not get disheartened, and maybe this sounds a bit cliche, or a bit of kind of common advice, but the main thing here is to remember that it is difficult to find the way to shoot for you, and just because you can't find it instantly, that doesn't mean that it's not possible. And there's a great quote that I can't remember where I read this or where I saw this. Maybe you can drop a comment below if you know where it came from, but the quote says that it's a lot easier to steer a moving ship rather than a stationary ship. And the meaning behind this is that at least if you're moving forwards, you can easily steer the ship in one direction. If you're just stationary, then it's very hard to steer it anywhere really, because you're not moving at all. So with relation to shooting and training, at least if you're pushing forwards and you're trying to improve, then even if you don't know the correct way now and you're not clear of the exact path, at least you can move in a certain direction, alter your path, and then improve over time. Whereas if you just kind of get scared that you're not going to be able to do the right thing, or if you just stagnate because you're not sure where to go, then it's a lot harder to improve at all. So the key thing here is to keep moving, keep pushing, and don't get disheartened by any kind of confusion or any difference in how you think you should be shooting, judging by other people's books, or different conflicting information, or maybe you can't get a technique area down right now. So just really focus on moving forwards, really. Now, similar to this, it's important to realize what you're basing your confidence on too, and this can have a really good impact for your training. So with this, it's important to base your confidence on your ability to find things out, and your ability to work the technique out over time, and your ability to improve over time, rather than trying to base your confidence, which this is what a lot of people do, basing your confidence on knowing everything from the start and knowing exactly where you're going to go. If you try and think of the exact blueprint or the exact way that you're going to improve and the exact technique you're going to shoot right from the get-go, especially if you're a beginner, it's very hard to see that, and it's very hard to see the path and see what technique to shoot when there's lots of different information and ideas. So base your confidence on your ability to work and improve and learn, rather than trying to base your confidence on what you know now and how you're going to shoot, because A, you don't know that, and B, it will develop over time. And this is very similar in terms of a competition mindset, to basing your confidence in a competition on what you can control and how you can shoot, rather than basing your confidence on knowing that you're going to beat everyone, or knowing that you're going to win no matter what, because these things are more out of your control. So base your confidence on something that you can control and that you can develop over a long period of time too, and this will help you push forward more aggressively, I guess. So that's the other thing here that I wanted to make a point on as well. Now, like the email said, there are lots of different contradictions depending on where you look on specific technique areas, or how to shoot, whether you should maybe draw the bow in a certain way, whether you should have an open stance or a square stance or a closed stance, or very specific things about your technique. And there are lots of different contradictions here, especially if you then delve into forums or Facebook groups or whatever. There's a lot of different information, and you're not sure what's correct or what's useful or what's reliable. And this is actually one of the reasons I wanted to start Online Archery Academy, is to just give some information that everyone can access, that's available anywhere, and is at least a good source of information that's reliable and trustworthy and documents the whole shot process and the whole technique, and is based more on principles of the shot rather than you must shoot this way. So I'm not a believer in, you must shoot an open stance, you must shoot a closed stance, you must shoot a square stance, or you must draw exactly like this, or you must, have 25% of your pressure on the bottom finger, or whatever. There's not just one way to shoot like that, and to kind of, think in that way is kind of naive, really. There's lots of different ways to shoot, and this is based on principles, and this is how I try and attack this from, Online Archery Academy on the website. When I'm coaching archers, I always try and think of the principles and help teach people the principles rather than, you must shoot specifically like this. So that's key to understanding how you can shoot and identifying these confusion areas and learning how to shoot and kind of working out the best way for you. So think of the principles rather than specific technical things here. Now, I actually talk about this a lot on the shot cycle page on the website, and I'll put a link to that below. But as an example, when we were talking about the square stance and the open stance earlier, if you just look at the two stances and you look at maybe the top archers in the world that shoot, you'll see some shoot with the open stance, some shoot with a square stance, some even shoot with the closed stance, and there are varying pros and cons to every stance. So how would you decide, especially as a beginner or an intermediate level archer, how would you decide which one is best for you? It's pretty much impossible. Whereas then if you look more at what you're trying to achieve with the stance, i.e. looking at it from the principles, as I said before, then this can help you really identify what works for you and how you can improve your archery more. So let's elaborate on that a bit more. With the stance, you want something that is stable, something that enables you to get good posture, something that enables you to get a good alignment with your shoulders, and something that's solid and repeatable as well. So as an example, for some people, the open stance allows them to have a bit of extra rotation in their torso, which then makes them a bit more stable in the wind. And this is great for some people. However, some people with the open stance, when they try it, they find that it's very hard to get their shoulder alignment. So depending on the person, maybe the square stance might be better if you find it a little bit hard to get shoulder alignment and you don't struggle so much with stability in the wind or general swaying on the shooting line. So if you work from the principles of you want the good posture, you want good alignment, you want to be able to repeat it, then you can try the different stances and see what's what and see where you can improve. So there's not one that's correct. There's not a perfect way to shoot where every archer must have a square stance or they must have an open stance. They must set the bow hand exactly like this. They must draw exactly like this. That's not the way it works. The way it works is based on how you can use this technique for you. And this is the key part here to remember. As another example, and this is actually what I used when I replied to the email to give some more context, lots of different coaches will describe drawing the bow in very different ways, and there's a very big discrepancy around this. If you then look at what you're trying to achieve, what the principles are when you draw the bow, and what you want when you get to full draw, it's a lot easier to understand the different methods and how they help, and then maybe you can find out what works better for you. So maybe when you're drawing the bow, you can then look at the key principles at full draw. What do you want to achieve? So the key things here are efficiency, so being able to repeat this, and it's quite easy. It's not too much strain on the body, and it's not something that's very difficult and fatiguing. Then obviously injury prevention, keeping the shoulder healthy and allowing the scapula to move nicely and preventing long-term injury. Getting to proper full draw and good alignment, as I mentioned before, being able to expand nicely, being able to move the elbow around the body as you expand, and then obviously keeping your posture, getting to full draw as I mentioned before, and then being able to just move the shoulder blade in the correct way while you're using the lower muscles of the back rather than the upper traps. If you focus on these key things, then you'll find the precise positioning and drawing of the bow that works for you in order to get this. So it's not that you must draw the bow a certain angle away from you or toward you or straight or whatever it is. It's different for different people because everyone's got a different body, different arm lengths, different angles and upper arm and lower arm ratios and everything. So think about what you want to achieve when you're at full draw, rather than thinking you must draw in a certain way, and this will really help you understand these things. Now I'm going to say something that might seem slightly contradictory from what I said before, and that is, if you are a beginner or an intermediate level archer or something like that, then it might actually be beneficial to just pick one method or one teaching of shooting and stick with it for a longer period of time, rather than getting really confused about, should I do this, should I do this, trying something for a week and then going back to the other way, stuff like that. So it's much better in this case, if you're very confused about this, or you haven't got a great deal of experience, to stick with one way for a longer period of time. And I mean maybe 1 to 3 years or something. I mean a long period of time, really a lot of time to get to know the technique and improve strength and stuff like that. Really stick with something, and then over time you will learn how this affects your technique, what slight differences you can make, stuff like that. Because it can be quite disheartening if you try something for a week, a month, and then it doesn't work, so you switch to something else, a week, a month, and that doesn't work either, and you just keep kind of switching between these things, and you just feel like you're going around in circles and not improving anywhere. The key thing here is to stick with something for a really long period of time, and it's actually, even if the method maybe isn't what you're going to end up with, and maybe it's actually not the ideal method, you'll get better results and better understanding from sticking with something for 2 years or a year than just switching between stuff maybe every week or 2 weeks. So I would advise that, and then after a while you can then try other things and learn from slightly different methods, and then this can improve your shooting long term too. Now when you're doing this, there are a couple of different ways you can implement this. You can get a coach, and in this case it's really important to get a coach that knows what they're doing, that you trust, that works well with you, and the normal things that you want in a coach relationship, and someone that really knows their stuff when it comes to technical areas, why a certain way might be beneficial for you specifically, not just someone that just kind of rigidly goes down one route. So that's really important. The second way you can do is also just by following, maybe if you're learning from a book, or you can learn from the website that I've made as well, the Online Archery Academy website. You can, and that's why I made it, you can go on there and just follow the framework and the guidelines on the website and follow that for a year, 2 years. Or you can use a book, a different book that's available, so you can follow that for a year or 2 years, and you'll learn a great deal from this by following that step by step and really learning about this, and then you can improve a lot more over time as well. Now, depending on your location, it can be very hard to find a really good level coach, and it also can be hard to find a copy of maybe a book that you need to follow and stuff like that. And that's why I created the website in the first place, is to give the opportunity to everyone, and that's why it's free across the world as well. You can go on there wherever you are, whoever you are. All you need is access to the internet, and you can go there and learn the full shot cycle, the full process, as well as these YouTube videos and stuff like that. And that's why I've made this as it is, because it just levels the playing field, and I think it's great to give back to everyone in terms of the technical information I've learned from shooting and coaching people. So I think it's a great opportunity to either learn from this website. I don't mind if you learn from a different source of information, but you can stick with that for a while, and you can really use this to accelerate your shooting. Now, that was a quick overview of that question, and I hope that's provided some extra detail to some of you guys that maybe are struggling with a similar thing. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you found it useful, also you can subscribe to the channel for more updates in the future about future videos that are coming out when they're released, so that you can get notified of that. Just hit the subscribe button and then hit that little notification bell too, to get emails to notify you. And as always, you can get involved on social media too, and the link to the website is down below, and I'll put all those links for you guys below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.